Hey guys, I'm Airwing Marine. Welcome back to the channel and my next Escape from Tarkov video. This is going to be a quick gun build guide specifically for the Punisher task line, Punisher Part 1, where you have to kill 15 scavs with the AKM. I'm just going to show you what I did, talk about a couple tips and tricks for it, as well as some other stuff for the task specific itself outside of the gun build. But let's not waste any more time and get right into it. Okay, so first things up, I want to talk about this task. It's kill 15 scavs on shoreline using an AKM series weapon. Now, these are all the 7.62 AKMs. They can be the AKM-N, the AKM, the AKM-NS, the AKM-S. It cannot be a Vepr or an AK-100 series 7.62 AK. Those do not work, so keep that in mind. And when you do this, the idea is to use the AK as a DMR, not a fully automatic get up and close personal rifle. That's how I approach these tasks. Every wipe I've done it, and it works really well. On top of that, AKMs can be really expensive because lots of people are after them for this task, and they can be easy to lose, and people are going to take them from you if they find them because of that. All right, so the first thing we're going to talk about is the guns themselves and which one you can pick, and to kind of explain what it is. The four types of guns out there are the AKM-N, the AKM, the AKM-SN, and the AKM-S. Now, the N on either of these simply means that there is a dovetail attachment on the side of the rifle. The AKM and the AKM-S do not have the dovetail sight. So as we're looking here, you can see the only way you can put a sight on is if you put a bastion or some equal dust cover on top of these, or some of the other handguards that allow you to attach sights. I steer away from these personally. These are cheaper. The AKM and the AKM-S are going to be your two cheapest AKMs to get a hold of by a couple thousand rubles. And again, it depends on what traders you have, but on the flea market, they can be a lot cheaper. So you can see here, the AKM-N is selling for 72,000 if you don't have the trader. And then the AKM itself is selling for 45,000, so at minimum 20,000 cheaper, but 30 or 40 depending on where you're at. And this is why, is because of that dovetail. So if you're really hurting for money, you can do this with a red dot. It kind of affects how far you can shoot, but it's a lot cheaper to build, especially because for this task, I think that a suppressor is a must have. And those can run anywhere from 40, 50, 60,000 rubles. We'll go look here and see what they are at the time of making this video. But as you can see here, for suppressors, you're talking 40, 50, 60,000, depending on what suppressor you pick, which makes it probably the most expensive, if not the most expensive accessory. And in some ways can be more expensive than the gun. But it's needed because with a suppressor, you prevent players from knowing your location and pushing you. When I'm on shoreline and I'm doing Shooterborn in Heaven or I'm hunting players, the first thing I'm doing is going to these spots that people run these Punisher tasks to find them and kill them. And if you don't got a suppressed weapon, I can almost always, I know what direction you're headed. I can get in front of you and I just wait for you to walk past me and I can shoot you at a distance. You have no idea. Suppressors prevent that. I can't hear you. I can't get in front of you. I can't set up on you. So when you're doing these kind of tasks, suppressors are really, really important. And with this is why I use the PSO. This is why I use the AKM-N, is because you can put a PSO. It's the cheapest way to get a 4X optic on these things, and it's really effective for me at engaging scavs at long distance and players, especially early on in the wipe when very few people have optics. So let's dive into my build and I'll explain it. Now, this isn't a specific build. This isn't a, hey, go build these parts, because it's going to vary greatly depending on what you have unlocked as far as traders and tasks and parts you have done. So what I did is I wanted to get this thing as high ergo as I could with any extra attachments that could go on there. So again, the primary parts that you always got to pick is the PSO scope. This is the first one I go, and you can get this from Proper. Sometimes you can get it cheaper on the flea market. The next one is the rubber butt pad. Again, you've got to have this thing with Proper level 2 in order to buy this. You can see right here, Proper level 2, that's where you get that from. It said 3 on there because I have Proper at 3 right now, but it's Proper 2 where it's at. The next is a suppressor. Now, when I bought this was the cheapest suppressor. Don't even care about the stats. You just got to make it quiet. Get the cheapest suppressor you can, unless you have a bunch of money and you want to build this thing up. Next up is the pistol grip. Now for me, I have Peacekeeper level 2 when I was doing this, so I was able to buy this saw pistol grip for pretty cheap. It's just like $45 from Peacekeeper, 43 here, and that gives you a big ergo boost. And the reason that's important is because you're going to be ADS'd on this thing a long time, and the higher your ergo, the longer you can stay ADS'd. That is also part of the reason why I just went cheap on this thing. I went with the AK-100, which you can get at level 1 Proper. I went with this foregrip from Peacekeeper, which gives you 7 ergo, which is quite a bit. And then the X400, which are all parts I can get from vendors for cheap money. That is the build. This is how I ran this, and it was really successful. I did this task in 2 raids. I got like 12 kills on the first raid, and I just had 3 more to get after that for my Punisher task. And when it comes to mags, it's no big deal. I have this fancy mag because I found it in a weapon box or something like that, but I'm still using the cheap ones from Proper for the other mags. So don't worry too much about mags. Just run a 30 rounder and you'll be fine. Now with the PSO, one thing I recommend is zeroing at 100 meters if you're going to be doing kind of standoff engagements. It seems to line up the best with shooting the T45 with tracer ammo, which is another huge help, and I'll talk about in a second. That's how I ran it. I'd zeroed at 100, I ran T45, and I just headshot scavs at a distance as much as I could. Now, when it comes to ammo, you have a bunch of choices here, but really it boils down to two. PS and T45. You can buy both of them from vendors, assuming you have level 2 Proper. And the reason I choose T45 is even though you're giving up 2 pen, you're going from 32 to 30, you gain 5 damage. And that doesn't seem like a lot, but it's a little extra. Plus the T45 has a little bit higher velocity and it has lower recoil. So those two factors play into a bit of a choice on T45. The bigger one is the damage. It does more damage, and I'm not really trading anything on armor pen. It'll still get through all the class 3 helmets, and you can see where you're hitting. So when you're trying to hit targets at a distance, you can see where your rounds are landing. You can kind of Kentucky windage a little bit better after that. On top of that, you have BP and MAI-AP, the really high-end ammo for this stuff. You can use those, but those are primarily for PvP. You don't need to be shooting 1,000 and 1,500 ruble around bullets at scavs when you're just head shooting them. It will help you in some cases, but it's just too expensive for me. I don't like running that really expensive ammo in my guns when I'm just trying to do a task. If I'm going to be running expensive ammo like that, I'm going to build a gun up that deserves to have that kind of ammo. Now, as kind of a bonus, I'll do a little bit of a Punisher guide here for you guys. So it's not just the gun, you can get a little bit more value out of this video. And it boils down to the route. Now, it depends on your spawn, but the main key points that I hit, and in the order and how you go through these, I try to draw a line through them and start on one end and work my way to the other, but you can loop around and catch a second spawn at these places like Power and Bus Stop. But I go from Pier and Gas Station to Power, which is the little power generation in the middle of the map where there's a bridge. Then I'll go to Bus Depot, which is just below Resort. I'll swing around Resort kind of wide so nobody hears me. There's a couple of scavs that can spawn by the truck out here. And then I go to Sniper, and I'll take out the scavs at Sniper. Now, there's kind of a weird thing going on right now where you'll see 2 Sniper scavs spawn at the same time. So it's just extra scavs to kill. And then you can extract right there if the extract's open, or you can loop around and hit other stuff. Some of the other high points are, radar, the radio radar tower can have a handful of scavs spawn there outside and inside, as well as Scav Island. Sometimes you can get 3 or 4 scavs out at Scav Island, as well as some by the tunnel at Extract. And then you've got Village and Cottages, and above Swamp there's a couple of spawns too. But all of these places, kind of depending on how you're rotating around the map, you can get your scavs. I have definitely gotten 15 scavs in a single raid before. I was close. I probably would have got 15 when I did it, but I had a bag full of loot and I didn't want to go humping around the map with a bunch of weight. So I just extracted at 12. So I had 3 more to do on the next raid. It was fine. It was super easy. I also like doing these at night with NVGs, but that's dependent on your play style, what you like doing, and if you have NVGs even available to you. There's less players. You can get a little bit closer to the scavs without them aggroing on you. And it's much harder to get picked on by people trying to do Shooterborn in Heaven and stuff, because I'll tell you personally, this is the route that I go hunt for Shooterborn in Heaven. I'm somewhere on Spine or up above Power looking for players doing this route so I can set up a 100-meter headshot on them. So keep that in mind when you're doing this. Don't linger after you're shooting. Even if you're suppressed, don't stay put. Shoot and relocate. And definitely don't go loot bodies, because somebody could be watching that same scav, see him die, know you killed him, and just be waiting for you to run up, and they're going to plop you as soon as you go down to loot. Now, I also use this same gun for Punisher Part 2. You don't have to. You can use any suppressed weapon, and if you go to something that has a little bit higher velocity, it's definitely easier. But I stick with it because as I get using these AKMs more and more and more, I get the bullet drop down on them, the lead time on players, and it just ends up being a little bit more effective with killing people. Plus, I really like the 7.62x39 ammo early in the wipe. It's really effective, it's cheap, and it's honestly a lot of fun to use. All right, well, that wraps up the video, guys. I appreciate you watching. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. It helps out on the YouTube algorithm. We have a Discord. We fill up with, there's lots of people in there willing to ask questions, help out. We've got a key channel for people that need to get doors unlocked or looking to group up and do specific tasks. And it's filling up with people that just love Tarkov. So don't hesitate to come by, join the group, and be part of the hangar. A little bit more housekeeping. I have a Patreon. It's an alternative for folks that want to support the channel. The higher tiers have some bonuses, like they get to see videos like this early, as well as I post in there when I'm seeing things going on in the economy. I'll post things in there for them, or the Discord that say, hey, look out for these items and stuff like that, kind of on a daily basis, just so that you can do it. I've got the list here of all the folks that are doing it, the credits, if you will, guys that are putting that extra mile in to help us pay for the editors and pay for the content and Tarkov Market and all the stuff that we use, the expenses we have to generate these videos. But lastly, I just want to say thank you for supporting us on YouTube. If that's all you're doing, that's plenty enough. Thank you guys for watching the videos, liking, subscribing, chatting. All of that means a bunch to me, and I greatly appreciate it. I wish you the best of luck, and we'll see you in Tarkov.